Hello and welcome to another edition of Schedule Rundown. I'm Dave Kress, and today I will be going over the Bengals 2013-2014 schedule. We are starting the AFC. We finished the NFC just a few days ago with the West, and now we're going to do the North. I don't know the exact. I can check real quick, but I think it goes to South, then West, then East. So, so here we go. Week 1 at the Bears. Against the Bears. I think this could be a good game. I'm gonna give it to the Bears here. They lost Brian Urlacher, which is the biggest piece of their defense. He retired after, and even if he didn't retire, it looked like they weren't gonna re-sign him. But they still have a good defense. They still have Julius Peppers, Lance Briggs on that front seven, and then they have a very good secondary with Charles Tillman. So. And Jay Cutler, he throws a lot of picks and stuff, but with a guy like Brandon Marshall, who in my opinion, he's a top 5 receiver in this league. Maybe fantasy-wise, I have him 3 in the NFL, maybe 4, 5, or 6 around there. But so a very good receiver. I mean, he is a great pass catcher. He can catch. I mean, sure, when you think of Marshall, you think of some of those drops he used to have back in Miami and stuff. But now he makes some very tough catches. So. I really like Marshall, let alone they still have Matt Forte in the backfield, and Forte has led their team before last year when Marshall arrived there. Forte led their team in receiving. That's pretty good for a running back. So he's a very good pass catcher, along with a good running back as well. So I'm gonna give the win to the Bears. Week 2 against the Steelers on Monday Night Football. I think that's gonna be a good game, but I'm going to give the win to the Bengals. The Steelers, in my opinion, are on the downfall. They're still going to have a good year, but if Ben can stay healthy, that'll make them better. But I really like the Bengals this year. I think they have an underrated defense. Clearly, Geno Atkins, he might be he's one of the best defensive tackles in the league. So that's always going to be hard to get around for the running. I think he can stop a young guy like Le'Veon Bell, because it looks like he's going to start week 2. He's still going to be rusty, and so I'm going to give it to that. Also, they have a good linebacker like Ray Maluga. I like him a lot. It's gonna. I like the defense, and let alone to talk about the Bengals offense. I mean, AJ Green is such a good receiver. I really like him. I mean, everyone's obsessed with Kelvin Johnson because he's a great receiver and everything. He's the best. But I'd have to say my favorite receiver in the league is AJ Green. I really like the way he plays football. He's very fast. But he can also catch those screen passes and stuff. He's a huge deep threat, one of the biggest in the league. He really makes Dalton look amazing. I mean, Green, I think he was drafted like 3rd overall 2 years ago. Yeah, 3rd overall, I think it was. But he's just, so that's amazing for a receiver. You don't see that a lot unless they're very good like him. And then Julio Jones went 11, so that was a great year receiving wise. But AJ Green, I really like him, as I keep on saying. But I think in a few years he's going to be one of the best receivers in the league. Or not one of the best receiver in the league, I say, in just a few years. I mean, because who else? He's number 2, I think, right now. Last year he had 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns. The year before he had another 1,000-yard year, only 7 touchdowns. But he's such a good receiver. He jumped in his rookie year, and he just keeps on going. So I really like AJ Green. So I'm gonna give the week 2 win to the Steelers. Week 3 against the Packers. I'm gonna have to say this is a loss. They were gonna have trouble stopping Aaron Rodgers, and the Bengals don't have the best secondary in the league. And the way Rodgers spreads the ball around to all of his receivers, James Jones, not Donald Driver, he retired. Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb. He'll get the ball to Jermichael Finley. He'll throw it to his running backs out of the backfield. So that's why I really like. That's why Rodgers is the best guy. If you think of all the best receivers or all the best quarterbacks in the league, they all know how to spread it around. You don't have a guy like Matt Stafford. He's gonna throw to Kelvin a lot and stuff. But these guys can, even with Greg Jennings, who was one point was a very highly ranked receiver in the NFL. Rodgers is still going to spread the ball around. So that's why Rodgers is the best. I really like it. That's going to be tough to stop. And not to mention, he can run. I mean, Rodgers he's a very underrated runner. Because he's not, like, you're not going to run the read option with him. I mean, he's got some speed. I wonder what his 40 time was. But he's going to, if the pocket collapses on him, he's going to he's going to run. I think he's had rushing touchdowns now. He's had at least over one rushing touchdown for the past few years. And you don't see that from these guys like Tom Brady and Drew Brees. You don't see him here. I don't know what he ran. I can't. Hold on. Let me check real quick. He ran a 4.7. I mean, that's not like a receiver running back. That's pretty good for a quarterback. I mean, way better than Tom Brady's 5.2 he ran at the Combine in 2000. So I don't think the Packers can, or I don't think the Bengals can beat the Packers in this one. I'm gonna give it to. Well, I mean, not even. I didn't even mention how with Clay Matthews and AJ Hawk in the middle there and stuff. I just don't think the Bengals will be able to put to compete with that team and give the Packers that win, making them Bengals 1-2. Week 4 at the Browns in Cleveland. I think this is going to be a win. I really don't like the Browns this year. I didn't think they addressed what they needed in the first round of the draft. They got a pass rusher. I mean, that's all right. I mean, they did need him. They did need that. I believe they got Barkevius Mingo out of LSU, but I mean, still, you got to go. I thought they should have went with Geno Smith. Or even if you weren't, go for a QB in the second round. But they still didn't do that. I don't like Brandon Whedon. He should get one more shot for that. I mean, but if they can give him another receiver, get him the best receiver in the draft, get him Tavon Austin there, 6 overall. I mean, that would have been good. That would have helped him out a lot. That would have made the Browns a lot more explosive if they got him Tavon Austin. So that would have been interesting to see. I never thought about that. They should have got that. That would have been good. So I'll give that win to the Bengals, bringing them back to 500, 2-2. Week 5 against the Patriots. I think the Bengals can pull this one out if they can limit Tom Brady here. Their secondary doesn't really need to do much. I mean, they have Terrence Newman back there. They don't really have to do too much against a weak Patriots receiving core. Just stop Danny Amendola, and who knows if he'll actually be healthy at this point. Probably will. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like he's 100% guaranteed to get injured, even though he hasn't played a full year. I mean, his body just isn't, like, that's what people say about people who get injured. I mean, their body just isn't built enough to withstand all the hits you take in the NFL. And like Wes Welker, he took so many hits, but he got up from all of them. I think if Amendola takes those hits that Welker takes, he's not going to get up from every single one of them. He's going to get hurt on on some of them. So I'll give the win to the Bengals in that one. Moving on to Week 6 against the Bills. Unfortunately, I'm going to say this one's a win. The Bengals, last time they played, I believe it was a few years ago, they stopped the Bills' undefeated record, and it was a bad call, I thought. Stevie Johnson, their Bills' #1 receiver, caught the ball, went down, but apparently the ref thought he didn't have the catch, and there wasn't enough evidence to prove that it was a catch. It was an absolute crap call, but it doesn't matter. I think that AJ Green should light up the Bills in this game. The Bills don't have a very good #1 corner yet. Stephon Gilmore, actually. I like Gilmore. That'll be interesting to see them go up against each other, but I don't think that he'll be able to stop Green. Green, in my opinion, is too good. But I think it'll be a good game. It's going to come down to the wire, but I think the Bengals will, unfortunately for me, pull this one out, making them 4-2. Week 7 against the Lions. I'm going to make this one a loss. Pretty much Kelvin Johnson is their team, and Matt Stafford. Well, actually, now they have Reggie Bush, so that's going to be interesting. That's going to bring a whole new element to their team, and I think that's a very good addition to their team. I really like that move. That should help them out a lot, because now that's going to make the defenses have to do some more other than just, say, triple cover Kelvin Johnson. Well, not that they double cover him, but now they could screen it to Reggie Bush and stuff, so they can do a lot of stuff with him too. So that's going to be interesting. I like the Lions this year, and I like them in that game, making the Bengals 4-3. Week 8 against the Jets. I think this is going to be a win. The Jets, I don't really like this year. Depending on who their starter, that's going to affect things. I think it should be Geno Smith, but who knows when you're listening to it. It could be already decided. Tomorrow could be opening day, but it's right now July, week or two before, or like 2 or 3 weeks before training camp starts. So no starter there yet. I think it'd be better if Geno Smith starts. Mark Sanchez clearly has proven that he can't. Well, I mean, I don't know about that actually. He hit rock bottom last year, hit his worst year yet, but just a few years ago, he was in the AFC Championship game 2 consecutive years. I mean, that's something to think about, but he also had a better team around him, and back then the Jets' defense was one of the best defenses in the league. I don't know if you remember that, but when they had, like, Revis and all them, they had the best defense in the league. It was clear to that. So that's also going to play into it now that the Jets' D isn't as good as it was. You can see how Sanchez is handling things, and I don't like Sanchez. Start. I think they'd be better fit. The Jets would be better fit if they had Geno Smith in. So week 9 at the Dolphins. I think this is going to be another win here. This is on Thursday Night Football, second of the Bengals' third night game of their 3 night games. I think this is going to be a win. Wow, I have them sweeping the AFC East. It's interesting, but yeah, Dolphins, Jets, Bills, Patriots. So. That's interesting, but I think it could happen. I like the Bengals. They're 2 consecutive years in the playoffs they just had. I think they can make it 3. I think soon enough they're gonna take that division. It's already now. The Steelers are kind of are getting pushed to the side now, making it the Ravens and Bengals division mostly. I mean, even though the Ravens just won the Super Bowl, I still can see the Bengals giving a very good fight at the division. I don't know I haven't looked at the Ravens schedule. I mean, that's Louis' video, so I've got the Browns video in the North next. But so that's gonna be interesting. If you don't want to watch it, I have them going 4-12. Spoiler alert, but I don't like the Browns this year, like I've said. So so yeah, I'll give that win to the Bengals. Week 10 at the Ravens. I'm gonna say this is a loss. First matchup against them this year. Ray Rice and Bernard Pierce, I think, is a very dangerous duo in the backfield. So that's gonna be hard to stop. Then they have Joe Flacco, the previous Super Bowl MVP. And you could argue that their defense got worse. I mean, they got Matt Elam, safety at LSU, to replace Ed Reed, and you could say that no one could replace Ed Reed, but I mean, I think that's a better move in the long run. They just got the Super Bowl, and now they're going to need some new young pieces to go along. So they lost Ray Lewis, close. That's irreplaceable. They lost Donnell Ellerby, who I think he's a good linebacker, but he's not going to be. He's not like a top 10. He's not a very good. Well, he's good, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a loss. So I don't think the Ravens are really going to suffer that much. So I'll give the win them to the Ravens that one, making the Bengals 6-4. Week 11 against the Browns. I think it'll be another win for the Bengals here, sweeping the Browns this year. For all the reasons I said earlier, I don't think they can stop A.J. Green. I mean, Joe Hayden is going to give him a tough fight, and that's going to be interesting to see. But still, I like Mohamed Sanu. I think he's going to have a better year this year. And then their running back duo I haven't mentioned yet, with Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis, and Giovanni Bernard, who they just drafted this year. He went to UNC, so I like the Bengals definitely over the Browns. So that brings us to their Week 12 bye week with a 7-4 record. That looks pretty good, pretty promising. We'll see if they can make the playoffs. Week 13 at the Chargers. I'm going to say another one. I don't think the Chargers are going to have a very good year this year. I mean, the AFC, apart from a few teams, the NFC is so much better than the AFC. Because I was listening to the DDF, Dave Dameshek football program the other day, and they had a question about who would, if the Pro Bowl was like changed from the conferences to the divisions, what division would win? If you think about it, AFC East, who would you have? You'd have Tom Brady at quarterback, CJ Spiller in the backfield, and Mike Wallace receiver and stuff, but I mean, that's not that very good. And then you look at like a team from the NFC. How about NFC North? I mean, Aaron Rodgers at QB, Peterson in the backfield, Calvin Johnson at receiver. The South, you have Drew Brees at QB, Jimmy Graham and Tony Gonzalez at tight ends, Julio and Roddy White there, Steve Smith. Cam Newton could run some sort of like read option or whatever. So that's why the AFC just isn't as good as the NFC. That's why I'm saying why a team like if you're a good team, like think about moving like the Cowboys over to the AFC East and moving the like Bills over to the NFC East. First off, the Bills would come in last in that division, and the Cowboys would probably win that division. They'd fight with the Patriots. So the Cowboys, a mediocre team, barely missing the playoffs these few years. Now could be a division winner. So that's just something to think about. So I'll give like I said, I don't really like the Chargers. I think Ryan Matthews is a huge bust. He just continues to not impress me every time I watch him. I'm not a big Phillip Rivers guy. I think he's past his prime. He's really not. People don't really talk about him as much as they used to. He used to be a pretty good QB. Probably, he was a top 10 QB back then. Now he's pushing top 20, maybe. So, I'll give the win to the Bengals. Week 14 against the Colts. I think it's going to be another win. Other than Andrew Luck and Reggie Wayne, their defense is solid. They lost Dwight Freeney, so that's going to be a pretty big loss. But the Colts, it's going to be a good game. Of course, the Colts are a good team. I don't see them making the playoffs again, because basically the Texans got the division. They're my Super Bowl prediction this year. So, let's say Patriots win the division, then Patriots win the East, Texans win the South, Ravens win the North, and who's the West? Broncos win the West. I know some people like the Chiefs the Bengals are going to make a wild card in my opinion. But then who else would there be? There would be the Chiefs to talk about maybe. I don't think anyone from the East, the Colts, and then the Steelers as the other wild card. So I think it's going to be tough. I think they might miss this year. I haven't thought about that. I don't know if I have them, but that's going to be an interesting thing to see. But I'll give the win to the Bengals. Week 15 at the Steelers. I think this is going to be a loss. I don't think the Bengals will be able to sweep them this year. This is on Sunday Night Football. They have 2 night games against them. I like the Steelers. Sure, they lost Mike Wallace, and I did mention how they're going to go down. They got Jarvis Jones, a nice outside linebacker, pass rusher, to go help out their defense, replace James Harrison, who's now on the Browns, actually. I think the Steelers will have an okay year, probably miss the playoffs, though. And I'll give the win to the Steelers in that one, Week 16, against the Vikings. As long as they can limit Peterson to only like 100 yards or stuff, and then put Newman or someone on Greg Jennings, they really shouldn't have too much to worry about. They have a good defense, clearly, with like Jared Allen, but still, I don't think the Vikings will be able to win this one against them, making the Bengals 10-5. And Week 17 against the Ravens, this one could be for the division. And I'm going to give it to the Bengals here. I think they can come out in the clutch. Dalton, he showed that he can't. He's 0-2 in the playoffs. It kind of shows what his clutchness is, or if clutchness even is a word. But I think they can get it done in this game against the Ravens. Finishing off the year at 11-5 for the Bengals. I think that's pretty good. That's a pretty good record. I think that's very possible. So we'll see how it turns out in a few months. So that's going to do it for this edition of Get Real Football Experts. I'm Dave Kress. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at Dave Kress Sports. And, of course, my partner who's doing the Ravens and Steelers of this division, Louis DB at DB Sports Talk. And check out my blog for more about the Bills, along with Brendan Harrington, if you listen to our podcast, which are once a week. Our Get Real podcast, which are once a week. He's been on there twice or so. It's Real Bills Now at blogspot.com. Lots of good articles and podcasts up there. And I guess we'll see you next time then. Thank you.